The next thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to use this to cut out the lining for the main panel. And so I'm going to be folding just this part, so I will leave excess lining. I'm just going to remove this part, which is a width. I'm going to be folding in the lining, so I'll leave excess on it. So I can leave like ½ inch or 1 inch. I'm just cutting it out now. I've cut it out, so I'm going to be applying gum on this area. Basically applying gum. I'm going to be folding in like this because I want to get a very clean edge. Okay. I'm going to be folding it in. I've done this. This one I'm going to be doing this offline, guys. Cutting out the lining for the side panel. For the side panel, I'm not going to be adding any additional leather board to make it stiff. I'm just going to leave it the way it is. So I will use this external as the template to cut out the lining. I'm not going to be folding this in, so I don't want to waste this part. I'll just shift it towards the edge a bit, so I don't waste any part of our material. But for this edge, I'm going to be folding it, this part of it. So I'll leave like ½ inch there, and I will just measure out. Just cutting on the mark. Right, to apply gum here because I want to fold it in like this, guys. And once it's dry or sticking, I'll fold it using this line. Remember, we drew a line there. I'll fold it on that line. Okay, I'm going to be placing it like this. So what I'm going to do once I'm through, I'm just going to top stitch just this part. Then I'll sew this together. Remember this notch that we cut? I'll sew on the cut like this. This is the shape desired to have. So this is the shape I intend to get. So I've done the side panel. I've cut out the lining for the side panel. This one is for this one, and this one is for this one. I'm going to be cutting out lining for them. I'm going to be cutting it out in excess. When cutting it out, I'll leave like excess because I'm going to be fold in. So kind of hide the raw edges, guys. You don't have to fold in. Okay. So just go ahead, apply gum here, then fold it the same way we have folded this. So this is going to be for this. Guys, I've lined them, okay, for the access panel and the zipper panel. This and this. The strap holder, I'm going to be his this. I'm using a ring, 2 ring that measures 1 inch. This measures 1 inch in width. One I'm going to be wrapping with Ankarabag. This measures 2.5 to 1/4. I'll be leaving the measurement in the description box by 1 inch. Okay, this the width of the D ring is 1 inch. This has to be 1 inch, so it can fit on it like this. Okay, just using my hand to apply gum. I'll place it. Okay, I use my hand to smooth it out like this. Take note, I'm leaving excess. So I just wrap it in like this. Time to sew the handle. After you have wrapped, well, I'm going to be getting some measurements, okay, on the handle. I did not sew everything. I started sewing from this point. When you measure it from this point to this point, it's going to be 3 inches. I'm just going to measure out 3 inches. So this is how the shape of the handle is going to be, just like this. I'm going to start the sewing from where this 3 inches mark is, which is this. Start stitching from this place. I am going to be lining this, the wrong side of the handle, with these pieces of velvet. I'm not going to be lining everything. Remember, we are going to be sewing, but that we sew, it's going to close up, right? But this part, which is the 3 inches mark, is not going to be closed, it's going to be exposed. So as a result, we need to line it up to this point where the 3 inches mark is. So you're going to apply gum and you just line it. You can also line it beyond that a bit. So when you line it, after lining it like this, I'll sew from this point to this point. I will also sew from this point to this point. After we've sewn the lining, I'm still going to be adding a layer of leather board, a piece of leather board on this. I want it to be a bit stiff. Okay, allow it to dry. Then I'll place the lining on it. All right, like this. The sewing is going to start from here. I'm going to burn off this thread now to get a neat look. So most time when burning, I tend to use this blue flame here, the blue one. When you use the yellow one, it kind of leaves some stain on your bag, some brown stain. So if possible, use the blue flame. Just trim off the excess. Be careful so you don't cut on the external. So when trimming, just bend the lining this way and put your scissors inside. Make sure you trim close, because I wouldn't want the lining to be seen over the external. Okay. Alright. Gum this part to it, okay, just to make it a bit hard. I don't want it to get to the edge, so by the time I'm sewing it will be too hard here. Depending on how hard you want it to be, you can put more than one layer. What I did, I just pushed it in with my scissors. And I'm sewing at 1/2 inch and back stitch. Or what I will always advise you to do is to pass, if you want to get a neater look, pass your thread to the back and tie. This is the handle here. This is the inside. Okay, this is it. This is it. You want to sew this handle strap holder to the side panel, which is also the gusset. I've taken a measurement from the top down. It's 2 inches. Once you get to 2 inches, you mark it, and from this point to this point, it's 6.5 inches. So we are going to get the middle. This 6.5 inches, right? So the middle is going to be 3 inches and 1/4, and that's where the mark is. So that's the middle mark, and that's where I'm going to be placing this strap holder. I'm going to be sewing on it. So I just turned it. I'll prefer this part to be seen. This place is looking plain. I don't want it to face up. I prefer this part to face up. Okay, I'll just place it there. If you are a beginner, I'll advise you draw a line. What some people do, they'll just use their double-sided tape to make sure it sticks and doesn't move around. I wouldn't advise you to use gum, but if you can use gum very well, you can use your stick gum or your cement gum very well, you can go ahead. But be careful when using it so you don't get your work stained. So burn off this. Next is to sew our lining to it. Okay, if you notice, I sewed the strap holder before sewing the lining because I wouldn't want this stitch to be seen outside, which is not going to be professional. I'm going to sew the lining to it. I'll clip. Take note that we folded this inside. Alright, I'll apply a bit of gum on it. You don't have to apply gum, but I like applying gum, but it makes this to lie smoothly on this, and it also makes it a bit harder to spread this. I'm just smoothing it out like so. I'm going to top stitch now. Take note, matching edge on the edge of the side panel. burn off if there's any excess thread there. All right, so by the time we want to sew this to the main panel, we are going to trim off this lining because I wouldn't want the lining to be seen. So the next thing I'm going to do to the side panel is to sew this part close. Remember, we cut a notch. This notch that we cut when we are trying to get the template. Okay, I'm just going to be folding it like this. So just make sure you're not sewing on the fabric and mark it out. You can use a pen to mark it, feel it, and know where the leather ends. Then you can feel the leather. This is where the leather. So I'll just mark it out. I'm just going to sew on it. Sew the first one. I'm going to do the same thing here. You can always mark out. Make sure you feel where the leather ends. Make a mark. This is where the leather head, leather board. So you make a mark there. So I'm going to sew on that mark. We have our side panel for the bag. All right. We are going to be fixing the zipper for the bag. So this one and this one at the top. This is the zip I'm going to be using, and this zip measures 16 inches in length. And I've already marked out where the zipper is going to go on the panel. It's going to come like this. So the measurement from here to here, this mark here is 1 inch. I like confirming, so you can see it's 1 inch. Okay, this is also 1 inch. If you are using a double-sided tape, you can apply it, or you can put it on the zipper, or any of them. The double-sided tape cannot easily stain your fabric, but this water gum, this could easily stain your fabric. So applying it on the zipper will not be the right thing to do. So I'm just going to take it like this. All right, and remember, this is the mark. The zipper is going to start from that mark. You should use your clip. Use your clip to hold it in place. Align it. Make sure it's not too close to the zip, so that by the time you are trying to zip and unzip, you would have any issue. Just go freely when you're trying to zip up or unzip. Take it, apply gum. This, I don't know if it's okay. So use your brush, it's advisable. So I'm just going to take the lining and align it. Make sure you check it from the back to ensure that the lining is covering the zipper too. Very necessary. When you are sewing from the external, it's going to catch the lining too. So make sure everything is aligned. So after that, I'm going to be sewing. You can see this one that is framing out. I'll just poke it in like this. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to start from here and sew around it. When sewing, I'll ensure that the edge of my matching foot is at the edge of this zipper panel. So you check to see if it's sewing on it on the lining. Okay, very necessary, so that by the time the lining moves away from it, you can adjust it. I advise you to use a matching thread. Do is that when you get to this zipper, where the zipper is, I'm going to back stitch. Okay. Back stitch to secure it in place. This is the zipper panel. This is the lining. What I'm going to do, I'm going to trim this off. It's not going to spoil it. All right, it's not going to spoil it. I'm just going to trim this off. I will trim this part off because I wouldn't want the lining to be seen over the external. Be careful so that you don't trim on your zipper. So what I did, I just moved the zipper to the back so I don't cut on it. All right, I've made that mistake before, so you can see how beautiful it turned out. So we are just going to fix the other one now. Applied gum on this edge, so I'll just let it dry for a while, 5 to 10 minutes, as I will always advise. Remember, this has been marked, this 1 inch. I've already talked about that. Ensure that this panel aligns with this. Okay, make sure they are at equal level. So make sure your zipper starts from where this mark is. You can clip it first, trying to position it. If there's going to be space, the space should be equal from this point to this place. You should have equal space. So you try your zip out to see if it's closing well. So I'll clip this edge here. This is so time to put our lining. This one is for it, right? By it. So I've applied gum. I'll take my lining, I'll align it. You can clip first at the edge if you want. Make sure it doesn't cover the zip teeth. Alright, I'll clip the external to the lining. So what I usually do for this edge, it's too big, I'll just lose it and refold again. So what I'm just going to do, I'm just going to sew around it, then trim off this excess, because the velvet I'm using for the line is thick enough. I don't have to fold. If it's too big, just lose it, unfold it and fold again so that it matches with the external. So when you get to this point where the zipper teeth is, you back stitch again to secure it. This is just to secure it in place. Just go ahead and sew around it. I'm just going to trim these parts off. So be careful so you don't trim on the external. It's still very neat, and this is the external. So you can use a metal stopper here, or you can make a stopper with your Ankara print. We finished sewing this, which is this. So I'm going to be sewing this part of it to it now. So I'm going to be applying gum. Just apply a bit of gum. I'll take my lining, line it up. This is the asset panel. They are of equal length, so I'll just place them side by side. I'll clip them in place. So I'll turn it. Alright, so I'm going to be sewing on this part that has stitch, so that by the time I'm sewing, I'll be seeing this stitch at the end of it. I wouldn't want this stitch to be seen outside, so I'll sew with half an inch seam allowance. So I'll back stitch first. Even if you don't want to make a mark, ensure the previous stitch here guides you. So I'm just going to back stitch. Here is it. I'm going to be stitching from here all to this place. Sorry if you're not seeing it. There's a panel, all right, just like this. So if you don't want it to budge up like this, you want it to just stay flat, you can go ahead and top stitch. But I would advise you, if you have an industrial machine, you do that with your industrial machine. Using this blackhead machine will be kind of difficult for you. So since we've done this, you just go ahead and do the other one now. So to do it, first of all, you apply gum, lay your lining on it, the asset panel, lay it, ensuring that they are aligned. Okay, then you turn it this way and you sew it 1/2 inch. That will give you this effect. Okay, if you don't understand it, check how I attach this to this. Sew that other part to it. It's going to be coming like this. Okay.